Hi there, I'm Egfer, and it's been a little while, but I'm back now with a new video. And today what I want to show you is a follow-up to the combo lock video I did a few months ago. But this one is going to be showing you two things. It's going to be showing you the smallest combo lock in Minecraft, and it's also going to be showing you what I think is the best Lectern interface for a combo lock. So we'll be looking at those two things, and I hope you enjoy it. When I talk about the smallest combo lock, what I'm talking about is a sequential combo lock, which means the order of the digit entry matters, which is infinitely expandable and can use repeated digits. So you could have 1, 1, 2, 2 as your combination if you wanted. So this combination lock does all of those things, and each digit is 3 by 3 by 3. The design is by Oligaming. It was part of Crafty Masterman's challenge to make the smallest combo lock, and Oligaming won that challenge. I have made two very minor changes to his design. The first one is that he has a hopper here, and that is now a dropper, and he had a glass block here, which is now a solid block. So that is literally the only difference I've made. I don't really take any credit for that. It's basically Oligaming's design. However, what I do take credit for is the entry system. To explain why I think it's good, it's probably worth looking at how most Lectern entry systems work. And it's a setup bit like this. You've got your book in here. You can go into the book, you can choose your code, and then you have to come out and you press a button to enter that code. And then you go back to the book and you choose your next digit, and then you press the button. And I didn't really like that. So I've come up with a system which is this one, and what you do instead is that you just enter your digits whilst you're still in the book, and you pause in between digits in order for them to be recognized. So I can go into here and I can change the page. I can do that multiple times, and finally I land on my code, and you'll see the lamp at the back lights, and the note block went off. I entered my code. I know my next digit is 3. The next one is 4. And the final digit is 5. And then my door opens, and I can go to my luscious treasure room, which holds all of my precious diorite. Yes, it does.
Okay, so let's dive straight in.
Okay, so let's start off by building the input system for this, and I'm going to use a Lectern, which is going to sit here, putting it at ground level, and most of the redstone is going to be kind of underneath or level with the Lectern. So the first thing I want to do is build a hole, or dig a hole, which is going to be 3 by 3, starting with the Lectern at the front middle, and we're going to go down 2 deep like this. And in the front right corner, we want to go 1 more block down, like so. Got an extra hole there, and all the materials list is in the description, by the way, so go and check that out if you want the materials. Put a torch on this back wall here, and we're going to put a weathered copper bulb above that. It could be waxed, it could be weathered. We need to make sure that it doesn't get changed automatically as time passes, so use waxed or weathered. And then we're going to put an observer here. And the observer is going to detect when the power state of this bulb changes. So it's not actually the lit state, but the powered state. So it's powered by the torch. Nothing is changing at the moment. Put a redstone dust here, another observer there, a block here, and a redstone dust there. So what this is about is our combo lock needs a 2-tick pulse. And we're going to get that by 1 tick coming out of this observer here, and then 1 tick later, then this redstone will get powered, and they will both power the same target block here, which has a torch on it. So this torch will turn off for 2 ticks when the power state of this bulb changes. Okay, stick a target block underneath the Lectern, put a comparator here, and a block in front of that, a block down here, and we're going to put redstone dust on all of that. So this is actually building a pulse extender. The Lectern, when you turn a page, will power the block underneath it to single strand 15. That comes into comparator. it loops around this dust, and that will stay on for a little while. I can actually show you that. So if I get a lever for a second, if I turn on the dust here and then turn it off, you see the comparator stays on just for a little while. And if I flick it on and off, as as if I'm changing a page in the book, it doesn't turn off. And it's only once it goes completely off that the bulb changes state. And that's because the redstone dust here will, when you turn this on, will get lit. That powers the bulb. It's already powered by the torch underneath. One tick later, the torch turns off, but the bulb is still powered. And it's only when you lose the power, when the signal strength eventually runs out going through this loop, that the redstone dust goes off. That unpowers the bulb. And one tick later, the torch comes on, powering it again. And that's what this observer here will detect. Okay, so put another block on top of the comparator, a comparator just here. And this is, the dust here is going to be our first dust going into the combo lock. Now, what would normally happen is this comparator is going to be sending out the signal strength from the book in the Lectern, but we don't want it to be on all the time. So put this in subtract mode, put a block here with redstone dust on it. That's going to subtract from the side. And we're going to put a block top of this torch here, and that's going to give signal strength 15 into the side of the comparator. And that is pretty much it. Don't need that lever. Just clean these out, make it a little bit tidier. And that's our whole input system done. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build the actual combo lock itself. And that's going to be offset slightly from the input. And we need a 3x3 space for each digit of the combo lock. And it just has to be one deep like this. So I'm going to have 4 digits in mind. So that's the first one. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That'll give me 4 digits. And just take these out. There we go. That's the space I need for my combo lock. You can see it's just offset to the left. And we start off, it's pretty simple, and it repeats. So put a dropper facing to the back, come around the other side, a dropper facing this way, block here, block there, a target block on top of here. Then grab your comparators. You want a comparator there and there, one here in subtract mode, and one down here, which is reading this dropper. Put redstone dust there, and on the ground here, you want a repeater just there, a solid block here, and then a torch. That torch goes above here. So this is quite a clever system where it's basically comparing the signal strength we input from this lectern with the signal strength which is going to come from a lectern that we place here. And if the signal strength is exactly 1, then that'll turn this torch out. The dust under here will still be powered, but the power will run out here because it's only signal strength 1. So then this repeater is no longer powered. So that's basically the system. If the signal strength were 2, then the dust here would be powered still by the comparator signal strength. So repeater would stay on. And if it was less than 1, i.e. 0, then the torch would stay on and that would still power this repeater. So it's only if you get exactly 1 from this system does the repeater turn off. And we're going to also put an item into the dropper. It can be any item, just one of them though. And what happens then is when you send a signal through, that'll push that item into the second dropper. That'll turn off this comparator here. And that happens at just the right time to unlock the repeater. You can see the bedrock bar there means it's locked at the moment. So it doesn't change state even if you turn it off, if you stop providing power to it. But it does it at just the right time for this change to be recognized. And if there's no signal coming into the repeater, then it'll turn off at that point. So that is the system. Of course, as the signal comes back through here, goes through this comparator onto this block, and that will then power the second dropper, which is underneath the comparator here, and push the item back into the first dropper, so everything resets itself. And then we just build that another 3 times. So I'll do one more for you. So we'll place dropper there, one here, go block, 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 target block on here, on a comparator there, 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 and there. This one goes in subtract mode. Redstone dust here, redstone dust on the ground here and here. A repeater just there. A block here, a torch here, and an item in the dropper, which then locks this repeater. So you want these repeaters to be on when you start. By the way, I'm using Lectern because I think it's a nicer interface to be able to change a code. You don't have to, you can use any kind of container which will give you 15 signal strengths, and that would work just fine. It's a bit more of a pain to work out how many items you need, say if you're using a barrel. But if you're not changing it very often, then it's not a problem. If you do want to change it, it's probably worth investing in the lecterns and the books that you need to make this work. So I'm going to go away, I'm going to do 2 more. I'll build them off camera and then I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so that's super quick to do. Hopefully you managed to do yours as well. And you'll see this whole line now of repeaters is lit. And the point here is that the first digit of your code is always this end one here. So unless you've turned off this repeater, then if it's on, it'll still be powering the next one along and the next one along and the next one along so far. So it's only if you turn off this repeater that you can then potentially turn off this one when the code is correct for that, and then so on up the line. Eventually you put in 4 correct digits and they all turn on. If you put in an incorrect digit, then they'll all turn themselves back off again. So in terms of the output, you can have a torch here, and that torch will come on when the code is correct, or here, or indeed here, but don't put a block above it, or power this redstone. So there's different ways you can take your output. One thing we also want to do is create a reset. Once you've got the correct code and that opens your door, you could just move the book and change it to something else and then run for your door. So that can work, but it's probably a good idea to have a reset so that you don't need to do that. If you forget, then the door will close behind you. So let's do that. We're going to break this block here, put a torch there, put a block on top of that, like so, and that will send signal strength 15 into here when when this final repeater turns off. Now the problem here is that means you can't use 15 as the code for your first lectern. So your first digit can't be 15 because otherwise reset will just trigger that first one. So don't do that, but otherwise this reset will be absolutely fine. Okay, next thing we're going to do is going to put our books in place, and I've got 2 different kinds of books, one for the front, one for the back. I will show you what they look like. Hopefully you know how to create a book. So this first one where we are entering the code, we've got page 1 and 2 is code 1, and you don't need to write on page 1, but it's best to write on page 2 as well, I think. And then we go up by 1 for each page, and all the way up to page 29 and 30, which has code 15 written on it. You have to write on page 30 here. You can't just write on page 29. It's going to be page 30 as well. And you mustn't write on any pages after this. So that's the code entry book. And then we've got our hidden code book, which will go into these lecterns. And this one's a bit different. So we start off with page 1 and 2 being code 2. And if you remember what I was saying about this circuit, is it detects when you get signal strength 1, and that's when it switches this repeater. So if I want to enter 10 here, that 10 comes through this comparator into this comparator on subtract mode. To get a signal strength 1, I have to subtract 9. So this one has to always be one less than the code that we want. That's why it is code 2 on page 1. And if you want to have a code 1, you just remove the book or remove the lectern, but removing the book is probably easiest. And then this goes up again, code 3 on the next page, code 4, etc. And now code 15 is on pages 27 and 28. And then finally, we have on page 29 and 30, do not use. That's because this would be signal strength 15. That would only match with signal strength 16 from our input, and we can't produce that. So this is do not use. You have to write on page 30, and you mustn't write on any pages after page 30. Okay. So that's our book for the hidden code, and Put that on each of these, and then you can set your code as you wish. So although we now have a fully working system, what it doesn't do is it doesn't tell you how long you have to wait after turning a page for the code to be recognized. And there are some small sounds you can hear of droppers kind of clicking. But if you want to make it a little bit clearer for your users or for yourself, then what I'd recommend you do is break this block, put a torch here, put a note block here. So we've got a sound that's being made, and put a lamp just here. So when the torch under here then goes off, it'll light this torch and you will light up your lamp, and you'll make a note here as well. Of course, you can change this block underneath if you want to change the note, but that's probably a simple way of doing it. And then maybe put a block here just to make that a bit more even. So obviously you can decorate that how you like, but that's a really simple way of doing it. Bear in mind that if you are further back from the book when you go in, you can't see the lamp. You might be able to detect the light change. If you are close up, then you will see the lamp. And I don't know if that depends on FOV, but either way, we've also got the note block, which will help us to hear when we have made a code entry. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it and you enjoy making this in your world. Remember to like and subscribe if you are able to, and I will see you next time. Bye bye now.